Hi, my name is J.L. Della Vega. I am the author of the Revere trilogy. It is a gothic western horror about a family of female outlaws. They live on a train and they sabotage every man that they come across. Um, I'm chatting here tonight with L.N. Holmes. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself now.
Yeah. So I'm Ellen Holmes. I am the author of Space Collisions and The Floating Castle. Space Collisions is a collection of a small, very small collection of short stories. And then The Floating Castle is dark epic fantasy, my first novel. So, yeah.
That's so exciting. Yeah, you had me at Dark Epic Fantasy. I remember seeing the description of your book for the first time, like maybe even only about a month ago. Hasn't been super long, but yeah, it had me at that you had morally gray female characters because those are my favorite.
Yeah.
So I knew I was like, ooh, yes, I need to follow this author. Like we're gonna get along well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm really excited to read your books too, because when I started reading through the description for them, I was just like, oh, yeah, I could definitely get behind this. So
hmm
it feels very up my alley.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about it. It sounds
Yeah.
great.
Oh, thank you. Yours does too, and yeah, it's definitely on my TBR for this next year. Um,
Thanks.
so, do you want to tell everyone kind of a little bit about what the floating castle is about?
Yeah, so the floating castle, if you'll imagine with me, I'm gonna give you my pitch here. Uh, a world where demons control the supply of magic and dragons are both feared and sentient. You have three women that come together to oppose an evil prince and escape his floating castle. So,
Woohoo! Man, you have the pitch down. I just kind of got chills for a minute there. I was like, ooh, dragons, demons. Yeah, three women coming together. It's yeah, again,
mhm.
all the things that I like right there. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's that's awesome. You know, I love I love all of that stuff. The demons I'm that's kind of new for me, but the dragons, the epic fantasy stuff, that's always been like my favorite.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's kind of the dark part kind of came later. The epic fantasy part was always in my head, and then the dark
Uh
part
huh.
kind of came later because I tend to gravitate towards dark fiction for some reason.
Mhm.
A lot of my stuff is kind of dark, short stories and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I have some that are a little bit more hopeful,
Mhm.
even though the subject material is kind of dark. But the it might like end on a more hopeful note. Um, with the floating castle, it's a series, so I'm not gonna tell anybody how it
Yeah.
ends.
People will just have to wait and be surprised.
Yeah, they'll have to read and find out. Um,
You'll have to read and find out if you're gonna be happy at the end or if you are gonna cry and your heart's gonna be broken.
yep, no guarantees either way.
I love that.
So.
This is off script, but how many books do you have planned in this series?
Yeah, so I tell people 8 to 10. So
Okay.
it kind of
So
depends.
epic fantasy.
Epic fantasy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I'm trying to be up there with the with Sanderson and all those
Right? Those all
people.
the heavy hitters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I support this. And yeah, fantasy has always been one of my faves too.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can always use more fantasy, especially dark fantasy, because I, like you, also gravitate towards the darker things. And I think historically, like, people always have. If you're looking at, the non Disney versions of fairy tales, they are all very, very dark.
Very dark. Yeah.
Um, and I think that speaks to us on a deep level because fiction is a safe way for us to explore emotions and situations and things in relative safety. We get to examine those dark parts of ourselves without, actually being physically involved or committing any crimes or,
Right.
anything
Right.
like that.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, absolutely. I think that's why it's such a draw for me is because like you can get really kind of deep with some of this stuff
Mm-hmm.
and think about, what trauma does to us and what the darker kind of stuff does to us and like who does that make us as human beings and
Mm-hmm.
like what who are we when we make certain decisions and how do other people perceive us when we make those decisions and like how does that in turn make us change and do different things and so I think it's honestly one of the coolest things ever to be able to kind of explore all of those really
Yeah.
dark topics and ideas and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, that was well put. I like that. Yeah, especially getting to explore, yeah, the choices that we make and how those affect us and how those affect others, and think we really get to see that the most with darker topics.
Yeah, for sure. In the floating castle, it's interesting because I have two characters. Like I said, it is dark, so I have two characters that have suffered some kind of abuse, right? And
Mhm.
so, and it's more about. I tend to not do like, uh, or at least never really on page, any like sexual abuse. I kind of shy away from that,
Mhm.
but like violence is pretty heavy in my book.
Mhm.
Otherwise, so there is some characters who suffer some kind of abuse through parents actually, and so the
Mhm.
parents, um, well, the characters I should say, they choose to go two separate ways.
Mhm.
So they're kind of foils to each other.
Okay.
And so you have one that decides to kind of embrace that kind of violence and that kind of anger and that, just well, you're going to be like this to me and I will reciprocate, right? And then you
Mhm.
have, so he's like continues the cycle. And then I have another character who is abused and she just tries to get away and tries to like start a new life and
Mhm.
move on from that trauma, and obviously it's not that easy, right?
No.
But
You don't get to just, decide one day to walk away and everything's
right.
fine, but you do get to choose, am I going to continue the cycle or am I at least going to try to break the cycle? So I love
Yeah.
that you're exploring both sides of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so
I because I enjoy the darker themes, I think it's super important for people who have experienced abuse to see representation
yeah.
of their experiences in fantasy, and because I feel like now it's becoming more acceptable to write about things such as abuse without being gratuitous, and I love that that it's something that we talk about that now, that it's not something we're so comfortable with sweeping under the rug
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, fiction is a perfect way to explore
Mhm.
those topics and even like experience a little bit of healing along with the
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, the healing that's going to happen in this series is going to happen over the books. So you
Mm-hmm.
have like little tiny steps each book towards something new, something
Mm-hmm.
changing, something, some type of acceptance or um whatever. And then you have the foil character that I was talking about that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like more and more and more into that kind of cycle of abuse and how that,
Spiraling downward and
yeah.
kind of breaking apart more and more. And I love that you're not going to rush it too, because healing is not linear, for every one step forward, sometimes you take 3 or 4 steps backwards. And so it's really cool that you're going to have the space of 8 to 10 books to really get into that and see it happening at a realistic pace, and readers will not be cheated out of the experience this way.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that and I work very closely with a friend of mine on these chapters, and we talk about if the characters are making sense in each chapter, and like,
Mm-hmm.
is this within their character, is this towards like growth, is
Mm-hmm.
this something that would they react this way. So I try to be careful with each, especially my main protagonist, but definitely the rest of the characters as well, because I have a lot of really important minor characters, and
Mm-hmm.
they play important roles throughout the books. Um, and so I try to make them all distinct, and I try to, show like each one is going to do something different, react a different way. Like one
Mm-hmm.
character is going to be defiant and in denial about like what is really happening, right? And then another
Mm-hmm.
character is like, no, this is definitely happening and I'm trying to escape. And another character is like, well, I don't know. Like, I just, all I want is to be loved, and
Yeah.
like, I'm not getting that and I don't know what
Yeah.
to do. So everybody kind of reacts differently to different experiences, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I'm trying to make it complicated and not easy,
Mm-hmm.
and make these characters feel like real people.
Yeah, you're making it very realistic, and I love that. I think that is one of the things that I have always loved about fantasy.
Yeah,
Is that, yeah, the attention to detail. And I love that you have a buddy that you can go brainstorm with, and to kind of bounce ideas off of and help you further develop those characters. And readers are definitely going to see that when they read your book, that this will make the world and the story feel more real, because we're encountering random side characters in our life. We're all the main character of our own life, but so everyone is the main character of their own life. So these side characters are the main character of their own story, even if it's
yeah,
not the story being told at
yeah,
the minute. You can always tell when an author has put thought and little personality details into side characters.
yeah.
And I always end up loving a side character, oftentimes more than the main characters.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I'm
Oh,
the same way. Like I fall hard for a lot of the minor characters. I'm just like, you're
mm-hmm.
so interesting. Like I
You're
want
so
to know
interesting.
more
Like, I want
about
to
your
know more about
story.
you. And that's what makes them
Yeah.
great, because you're getting just enough to want more, but you're not satisfied. And that makes
Hmm.
you I think long for them a little bit, and that's
Yeah.
what makes them appealing, and that you get to kind of fill in some of the details about them yourself, because there is less backstory, and that's always fun to me to kind of imagine, like, oh well, what were they doing before this, or what did they go off to do after this,
Hmm.
or what are they doing in between, when they're not on the page, what are they off doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the trick is for me, the trick is trying to portray those like subtleties when you can't see through their eyes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in like for example in the scene that I'm writing in the second book, um, you know, the character is like acting weird, but the other characters are distracted. So I have to kind of show that she's acting weird,
Mm-hmm.
um, while also like keeping their attention away from it. They're just kind of, it's like
Yeah.
passing details. So I have to clue the reader in
Like
while also
something's not
like,
right.
yeah, yeah. So it's pretty tricky, but
Mhm.
um, I mean, I have a lot of writer friends who help me out. So
That's
it'll be like,
awesome. We
it's not
always
working
always
yet.
need those writer friends. We need the writer friends and then we need the non-writer friends. Like I love my reader friends because they kind of have a different brain about it. Um but writer friends understand the process.
Yeah.
And yeah, how hard it is and just the little things about it. So what inspired the floating castle?
Oh, well, more than one thing, but you know, when I read fantasy, um, and I read a lot of fantasy, uh,
Mhm.
it's kind of, in a sense, split into two main camps right now. You've got kind of like your romantasy, which is taken off,
Mhm.
and then you've got like epic fantasy, and a lot of times it's through the eyes of a man.
I was gonna say that's the boys' club.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so I'm trying to break into the boys club, not because I
Yes.
want to be a boy or to like whatever, but I love epic fantasy and I want to
Yes.
write it. And
And there are
so,
lots of women that love epic fantasy, but
yeah,
don't necessarily love romantasy. I know that
exactly.
there are other people out there like me. And I love that romantasy has gotten people reading. People who have not been readers in the past read now because of romantasy, and that is great. But it is not for me. And also I have noticed as it's taken off, everything is starting to get kind of lumped into romantasy. If it has the word fantasy in it, people kind of automatically assume that it's
Yes.
romantasy, especially if you are um, a female author. I
Yeah.
have noticed that happening
Yeah.
a lot too. People just kind of automatically assume that I'm writing romance in some capacity. No shade on fellow women authors who write romance. A lot of my
Right.
really good author friends write romance, and they are absolutely amazing writers.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so that doesn't mean anything about this your skill or the quality of your book, but a lot of people I've noticed have this idea that
Yeah.
romance is somehow subpar or just for girls,
Right.
and again, that's, offensive because it's assuming that something for girls is less than.
Yeah.
Um,
There's so many problems with that, right?
so many problems with that. I guess my uh, issue with it is that fantasy is so diverse, and so to assume any one characteristic about it, it just you're just pigeonholing a genre that is so wide, and it's just very inaccurate.
hmm Yeah, and that's why I feel like, there are other like epic fantasies out there that are doing what I'm trying to do. I just
Mm-hmm.
need to find them.
Yeah, we just need
And
to find them. Where are they? We
right?
need to
And
find each other.
right. Like I keep looking because I know they exist. I know they
Mm-hmm.
exist.
Yeah.
And I will find them one day.
Yes. Yes.
um, but yeah, like yeah, definitely agree with you. Romantasy, I love romantasy. I think it's cool. I would not normally read it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not my normal cup of tea. I get
Yeah.
really, really bored with like spice scenes, and I'm just like, okay, let's get back to the dragons.
Yeah. I can't deal with all the euphemisms. that's
Yeah,
my that's my thing. A
yeah,
romantasy is really big into its euphemisms, and yeah, and then I also, I guess, take issue with romantasy. paranormal romance is the most guilty of this, but romantasy is kind of right up there, in my opinion. How it portrays actual toxic, potentially dangerous behaviors and relationships as romantic.
Yes.
And I think that there are a lot of people that can tell the difference between fiction and reality, but when you involve romance, it starts to blur the lines between what we're reading and what we are training ourselves to accept in real life. So that's kind of the other beef I have with it. Though I have read some of the popular ones, I'm not going to name any of them.
Hmm.
But yeah,
No,
it
I
was just too
totally agree.
toxic. It was just too
Yeah.
toxic for me, and I was like, this is not setting a good example for young women.
Oh, I agree, and that's why I couldn't bring myself to like Twilight when it
Mm-hmm.
first came out because it came out when I was a teen.
Yeah, same.
So you understand. So
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like everybody liked it, and I was like, I just can't, like, I just can't like it. And
yeah. It's like this is creepy.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, I definitely 100%. And I think that's part of the reason I wrote um Li Ling the way I did in my book
Mm-hmm.
because she's like I'm just like if someone is like I'm gonna kill you, that's not hot. That's like you run from that, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah. You run
um
from that.
because there's all these like romanticities now where it's like, they're assassins trying to kill each other and then they realize
Mm-hmm.
they love each other. And I'm like, okay, cool, love overcoming hate. That's cool. But also like I would not fall in love with someone that's trying to stab me.
No, actively trying to kill me.
It's not going to
Yeah, or even
happen.
someone that is like fighting like really intense like temptation to like want to kill you, like in Edward's case. I'm just like, what if your self-control is just really low one day and you snap? Like
Yeah.
I just can't put myself in that
Mm-mm.
position.
Mm-mm.
And
Nope.
so yeah, like problematic traits being portrayed as yeah, romance or hot or desirable. That's when I think it becomes a little dangerous and toxic. But on the flip side, like we talked about earlier, I love dark things. And so I love when books do get into toxic relationships, but they are portraying them as such. So
Yes.
they're not
Yeah.
trying to sell you on the idea that this is okay. Oh, he's mean to you because he really likes you. You know, that lie
Yeah.
that we all heard growing up in elementary school, like, oh, a boy shoved me and then he punched me and it's like, "Oh, that just means that he likes you." And it's like, "No.
No.
No. And even if he does, that's not the kind of person you should be with because
Exactly.
they have not been taught how to regulate their emotions and to properly show affection."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's in the floating castle, Lillian and Elias are immediately at each other's throats, and it is like a political marriage, but
Mhm.
but they never, well, I don't want to give too much away, but they it's not too much to say that they do not like each other. They
It's
remain
a political
enemies.
marriage. Yeah. It's
Um,
it's an alliance to get power or money or, an army, how whatever benefited the families and historically
yeah.
very accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I won't say what happens with the marriage or
Mhm.
if there is even a marriage. I'm not going to say that, but I will
Mhm.
say yeah, I think that was partly a reaction was to some of this romanticy is how much I hated the kind of like this toxic relationship being
And
portrayed
like
as
the
romance.
the forced proximity and,
Hmm.
stuff or like the arranged marriage trope. And I'm sure at some point in human history there have been toxic arranged marriages that they, worked on themselves and overcame that. But I think the core issue actually is that it's oversimplified. in
Yeah.
romantasy, and
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way in real life.
It doesn't. And and you know, those people might mm, try to come off as lovers or whatever, and then they can turn around and abuse you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. It just to me it does make me uncomfortable reading that stuff. I don't really like it. So that's why I didn't go there. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
showed like this guy that Leiling is supposed to marry is pretty darn evil, and he's going to be her enemy, and they're not going to
Mm-hmm.
fall in love. They're actually really going to hate each
Like,
other, and they're
he's a
going to
bad guy.
yeah, he's a freaking
he's
bad guy.
not he's not actually a good guy,
Right.
in disguise, because again, good guys don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Oh,
he's definitely in a sense he's kind of a classic, almost a classic romantic dude, but I'm showing like that she's not going to fall in love with him.
yeah, and this
Um,
is how it probably would play out in reality. And I do, again, this is why I like darker subjects, darker fiction, dark fantasy. I really love folk horror, because they tend to be more realistic. And I guess, I can suspend, a certain amount of reality because, again, I love fantasy. Um, it would be really cool if we had dragons and magic in our world. It would also be terrifying.
it would also be
But
terrifying.
so I can overlook, fantastical elements like that because you're in another world. It's not our reality. It's a different reality, but the behaviors of people, I guess, is what I have a harder time
Yeah.
excusing and overlooking even
Hmm.
in fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And some people will argue, well, it's just supposed to be pure escapism, but my argument is if I can't believe what's happening, I can't
It's
escape
not an
into that
escape. It's
reality.
not an escape for me, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's why it's wonderful that we have so many books because everybody's escapism looks a little bit different. My
Yeah.
escapism definitely needs to have a little more edge. I'm also the girl that's here for the violence. I'm here for the body count and the blood.
Yeah. 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 Well, and because like if you look throughout history, I mean, we're talking about what real people do, real behaviors, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
when they're enemies, they don't treat each other well. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to kind of talk about that and like what violence actually does to us through the lens of
Mhm.
fantasy. Because a lot of times, again, let's go to the epic fantasy side, right? You'll get like these beautiful hot women that just are really super dangerous and sexy, and they might not have any depth. Or like
Mhm.
they're just like these like they're almost like I don't know, metaphor or allegory in a sense where like they're kind of just there to play this like role or be a symbol or whatever. And
Mhm.
I just wanted something more than that. I wanted something more than that. Um and with the violence, because there's tons of violence against women in
Mhm.
epic fantasy, tons.
Tons, and it's really not talked about very often.
It's not.
It's kind of
Um
just accepted in the genre because up until, very recently, it's been almost exclusively a boys' club. Um, we're starting to break away from that, which I'm
mhm.
happy about. There's still a lot of work to be done. But yeah, it's definitely, I would personally label it as one of the tropes of epic fantasy is violence against women.
Yeah, yeah, and I wanted to like show, well, if you hurt a woman, things happen. It just doesn't go away. It just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
disappear. Like they don't, and I know a lot of times it's like through the lens of a male character who comes to their rescue or
Yes,
like
and
who
again,
comes.
it's being used to further the male story. The women are just a prop, and all of the things that happen to them are just to further the man's journey. It doesn't really look at, you know, the the trauma and the repercussions and like the events leading away from that for the woman. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And so I wanted to kind of create a book like that, right? Where,
I love that.
um, thanks. Yeah, where these women,
This makes me
are,
so happy.
yeah, yeah. I'm glad. Because I feel like I needed those books a lot, and I had to get them through other genres, or I had to get them through
Mm-hmm.
YA, because sometimes YA fills that slot. But I also
Yeah.
was like, I felt pressured when I first started to write YA. Um, and again, I think there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but but I was like, no, I want to write adult fantasy. I want to write for
Yeah.
adults. And so, because I really wanted to get dark and just kind of like really talk about that and what
Mm-hmm.
it means. I guess I have all these things just pent up inside of me that I needed to put in a
Yeah.
book,
And that's
and
that's why writing and art in general, but writing especially is so wonderful. Yeah,
yeah.
you get to, you know, kind of live out these emotions that are living inside of you, and the physical act of taking the ideas, whether or not you're, writing it by hand. I used to write everything by hand, and I quickly realized that took way too much time. But there's still that mind to body connection, even with
Yeah.
typing on a
Yeah.
keyboard. And if you're an author that likes to take down by dictation, you're still moving your mouth. There's still an action happening, and there's something very special about that brain to body connection that helps you release emotion in a very unique way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this book has been really good for me in that way. Because I was always looking for that story that I needed. Um,
You wrote the book that you wanted to read.
yeah. Yeah, I did the
And
cliche.
that is what they tell you to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I fully support that. I mean, that was why I wrote the Revere trilogy. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the book that I have been looking for all my life, and specifically one of my main characters, I was like, this is the main character that I have needed to see represented my entire life, and I have not found her yet, so I need to create her.
Yeah, see, this is why I'm so excited to read the books. Because I feel like these stories are missing. They're missing,
Mm-hmm.
or they're not marketed enough, or they're not shared enough among
Yeah,
readers.
where
And
they're
so,
hidden, little hidden treasures.
yeah, yeah, and I've been looking for them actively all this
Mm-hmm.
time. So that's why I'm excited to read your books.
Yes, I'm so happy that the algorithm brought us together finally.
Yes, yeah. So,
Because that was how I stumbled across you, was on Instagram, and I was like, oh,
hmm,
this looks interesting. Like,
yeah,
what's this book? And then
yeah.
the more I found out about it, I was like, yes, this is everything that I like.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad. That makes me happy. And I'm glad we connected because I've had a lot of fun just following kind of your journey as an author too.
Hmm.
And yeah. So, and I know you work with some independent bookstores too, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a couple here where I'm at. I kind of have a little list going of the
Yeah.
next ones I'm gonna reach out to and try to network with. And I love that the indie bookstores are so supportive of us indie
So
authors.
supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cause it really, like, in my opinion, it is a two-way street. Like,
Mhm.
we are actively, like, advocating to shop small, shop your local bookstore, support your library. But then, if you're not getting any, like, type of support from your local bookstores, and I understand, they're a small business, they can't shelve every single book,
Yeah.
and they still have to, pay their electric bill and feed their families and keep their doors
100%.
open.
Yeah.
So I understand the realities of the business side, but at the same time, if they refuse, to even talk to you or like don't ever stock any indie books or
Yeah.
all they have to do is share one of your posts or something on the internet, that's free. Like they can't expect us to do all of the supporting and then not care about us at all. So I have been very grateful that the bookstores, for the most part, that I have approached have been so supportive
Yeah,
of
that's great.
a little unknown author.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it is great because, and it is a two-way street. I've received lots of support. Bailey from the Crafty Bookstore, for example, goes way above and beyond anyone I've ever met in the industry as far as like a bookstore
That's
owner.
amazing.
She's amazing. Taylor's amazing. Their whole outfit's amazing. The authors there are awesome. So I definitely recommend people check out the Crafty Bookstore. Um, Bailey, and Taylor, they try to give us the best possible cut, which is higher than normal.
Mm-hmm.
And try to find ways to support us through advertising and all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things. So, I mean, they're just
Yeah.
going way above and beyond.
They're
Um,
setting that bar where it should be, I feel like.
Super high,
So
super high.
good on them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're amazing. And then, I work with three other independent bookstores as well, and they're really cool for their own reasons.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, because they accept indie authors in the first
Yeah,
place.
because not all of them do.
Yeah.
There are some that I've come across that want you to give them free books to sell in their store just for I guess the privilege of having your book on a shelf, and if you choose to do
Uh,
that, that's your business. But
yeah.
I kind of think that's gross. Like I'm
Yeah.
like we can do consignment, but I expect some cut of the profits.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you can just say no.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I saw something on the internet yesterday, yeah, about how an author was posting that like a bookstore had, um, and it sounded like an indie bookstore. They didn't say which one, and that doesn't matter. But a bookstore was saying, you need to pay us, X amount of dollars, and then we'll shelve your book. Barnes and Noble is a pay to play, especially for their desirable prime shelf space, which again I think is gross. But
I didn't know that.
they're
Because I haven't even tried Barnes and Noble.
they are a pay to play.
Oh wow, that's
Um,
interesting.
so the end caps, and this may vary store to store, but this is what I've heard about their overall business model. So the end caps, those like big table displays,
Hmm.
those are paid spots.
It makes sense because you
Um,
run right into them when you walk in.
Yep, yep. And so it's all the big players, that end up on those spots. And those books would probably already sell without
Yeah.
any additional assistance. But
Yep.
so Barnes and Noble is very much a pay to play, which I don't love. But again, it's a big corporation, so what do you expect?
Yeah.
But yeah, when I heard that there are some smaller bookstores out there that are like that too, I'm just like, something about that just
Yeah.
feels predatory to me,
Yeah.
taking advantage of indie authors and small authors that just all you want to do is get your book out there.
Right. Yeah. I have run into that with one bookstore. Sorry about to sneeze. Mm.
Bless you.
Sorry, allergies. Oh my gosh. I have the worst allergies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Mine are bad. I'm
Uh, yeah. Right
permanently
now.
congested.
Oh, yeah. You get it. No. I ran into that with one bookstore, and I forgave them a little bit because they were new and they were
Mhm.
learning a lot, and I their understanding and grasp of the business in general was.
And maybe it was the only way they could, keep their doors open was to make a little extra money, but it sucks that they thought they had to make it off you.
Yeah, yeah. Like I declined. I was like
Yeah.
because the fee was like it was like I can't make that back because at the time I was just selling this little guy and I
Mm-hmm.
and I sell him, you know, under six
Mm.
dollars and under. So, um which I think is pretty high, but printing costs are so high, it's hard to
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
But I would sell it for much cheaper if I could. But I was like, I can't make that back. Um,
Yeah. That would be you
so
taking a loss.
yeah,
Um, you
and I was
know,
like, that's not worth it to me.
yeah,
Because
you can
I've
get
been,
advertising and exposure some other way.
yeah, exactly. Everybody wants to give you advertising and exposure, and I'm just like over that. I want to be paid for
Yeah.
my art,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Like I worked hard on this. I deserve something for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, and but also like artists are always exploited. Like
Mhm.
all throughout history they've been exploited and you are creating something, and obviously different people will enjoy different things, right? But you are creating something for other people to enjoy and you need to get something back for that. You can't just give
Yeah.
without any reciprocation.
Yeah.
So and praise only goes so far. Praise does not pay your bills.
Praise does
Praise
not pay your bills.
praise doesn't pay printing costs or advertising costs or any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
It doesn't
So
pay your bills, so you're having to, work a job, multiple jobs, and then come home and, do your art, in your off times, if you have a family, then you've got to balance that. Like, yeah, I think, people who are authors especially like get it. Artists in general, they get it, but I've come across a lot of people who don't realize how much time it takes to write a book.
so much time.
I'm like, this is my second job, um, and it's potentially a full time thing, but I just have to do it in like smaller chunks of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, 100%.
Cause
Yeah,
and then if you want to publish, then you're also, you're doing marketing, you're networking, you're doing all of these other things that are actually real world jobs. But you're doing them all. On top of that, then trying to also write your next book and not go insane.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just got yelled at by my doctor because he's like, "You need to sleep. You're not sleeping enough and you need to go to sleep." He's like, "If you
Sleep,
want to
sleep is
live
good.
long enough
Yeah, yeah.
to publish more books, you need to go to sleep."
You
And
need to
he's
go to
right.
sleep. Yeah.
So,
I think that,
but
yeah, that's why I haven't seen a doctor in a while because I'm afraid of what they will tell me.
right? I mean,
uh,
it sucks. It's like there's only so many
oh,
hours in a day. I always
it's
complain
true.
about how little hours there
Yeah,
are
and
in the
then,
day.
are you sleeping? Are you, eating healthy? Are you working out? Or are you, doing
Right.
other self-care things? For my day job, I work in a self-care industry. And, I give people all this well-meant advice.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, I should be taking my own advice.
Right. I
I need to be
I
stretching
know.
more.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to as an author and in a sense you're an artist with
Mhm.
words, right? Because I'm sure you're similar in some ways to this, but I get so focused on a project, I forget to drink water, to get up, to stretch, to do a lot of things.
Mhm.
And because I'm so focused on the project and like, getting it right and I can get in trouble that way, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure other artists, a lot of other artists and other authors deal with that problem.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. That does not happen to me very often. It has, but um no matter how much I love writing and love a project, I get very antsy if I'm doing any one thing for too long.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
I
Yeah.
very rarely like lose myself
Mm-hmm.
in it. Um but I hear that from other people. And it's like, yeah, I forgot to eat lunch, and then I realized it was like
Yeah.
7 o'clock, and I'd been writing all day, and I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had that problem. Like, I wish I could do that much, but I'm like, I can only like work for like bursts of, you know, maybe half an hour at a time, and then I have to like get up and do something.
Yeah. Well, I think that's healthier. I don't recommend I don't
Yeah,
recommend doing
it
what I
might be.
do.
Like, and it
Um,
all, it all gets done eventually, but I guess I am not a fast author, and this is why, like, one of my, I guess, main messages that I try to put out there on my as part of my brand is that everybody's journey looks different. Your speed is your speed. There's not a right speed. And so don't be comparing yourself to somebody else because that is something that I personally have a hard time with. And so, like, I'm trying to remind myself almost every day, like, don't be looking at people's Instagram, looking at how
yeah.
many works in progress they have. They have 6 projects that they're writing at the same time. I don't know how anyone does that because I can't do it, but that's amazing. I am like impressed and jealous and happy for you if that's your speed, but that is not my speed. But then I start looking at myself and like, man, like I could have way more books if I just worked harder, but that
Oh,
is just not how my brain works. I can only
yeah.
focus on one thing at a time, and it is in like bursts, like
Yeah.
small bursts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know
And
what? I just need to accept my speed for what it is, and eventually you get there.
I mean, you've written a trilogy. That's amazing. I
Hmm.
feel like, do what works for you,
Yeah, and that is
and
all that matters. Do what works for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I thought, I feel like I kind of am a slow author too, even though I focus really hard and I work really
Hmm.
hard on my projects. Um, I do feel like I'm kind of a slow author, because, and again, this is me trying not to compare, right? But
Hmm.
when I went through the MFA program, I saw all these people publishing books, and their projects that they went through the MFA program with, they would publish the book or they would get a deal with this
Hmm.
traditional publisher or whatever. And here I was still trying to figure myself out and write something that mattered,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
which was hard. And I think I still had room to grow even after
Hmm.
the program, maybe especially after the program. But
Yeah. You need to
um,
decompress a little bit from that. Like,
yeah,
burnout's a real thing, and those types of programs are intense.
yeah, they are, and I needed to mature as a person and an author. Um, and I kind of wish I had done the MFA at a different time in my life.
Hmm.
Um, my friend who I work with on my books, she is actually a professor, and we talk sometimes about like how we wish certain things had been different, and without going too much into that, we just we wish there had been more fostered love for each other's work, and like
Hmm.
community over competition, and because there was a lot of like competition within the
Okay.
MFA
It was
program.
very cutthroat.
Kind of, yeah, and part of that was because of like fellowships and stuff,
Mm.
which
So you kind
sucked.
of were competing in a sense, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're all kind of going after the same thing. Like, I would much prefer to be supporting other people, and that is what I love so much about the author or the indie author community, especially.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone is so supportive, and
Yeah.
they're everywhere you go. There's the bad apples, the people that think it's a competition, but overall, like the experience with the indie author community has been very much that everyone is here to lift you up, not pull you down.
Yeah, 100%. I have been so wonderfully embraced by other indie authors. I mean, just and they genuinely would go out of their way to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I want to do that for somebody else. And
Yeah.
so I try to reciprocate as much as possible, not because I feel obligated, but because I'm just so grateful for,
Yeah.
the hand up or the help that I've received, and I
Yeah,
want
and
to
you
do
want to
that same for
pass
somebody
that
else.
along,
Yeah.
to the next person, and
Yeah.
yeah, there definitely seems to be so much genuine, like, wanting to help and spread the word, and people
Yeah.
are, sharing your books without expecting anything in return. And that really, like, really um is so encouraging when you can tell, yeah, that people just genuinely want you to succeed. They want everyone to succeed. They're not doing something to hope in hopes they'll get something from you.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just, like, they don't care if you buy their book, but they bought your book, or they share your post, but they're not trying to, get you to, like, buy
Yeah.
anything from them. They just want
Yeah.
to, help a fellow author succeed.
Yeah. Right. And I think part of that stems from the fact that a lot of indie authors fell in love with reading,
Mm-hmm.
and then they wanted to become an author after that.
Yeah.
That was kind of my story. Even though I wanted to be a storyteller even when I was young, I still fell in love with reading first. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, of course I'm going to support other people who are putting out books that I want to read,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, and then on top of that, there's just of course this community that's just
Mm-hmm.
like the feeling of community and belonging to something that's bigger than you, and like
Mm-hmm.
lifting each other up is a wonderful feeling. And it's not just like self-published authors, which have, like, everyone I've encountered has been kind and
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But it's also like the small press and the independent press
Mm-hmm.
authors. So I'm the founder of the Small Spec Book Awards, which is like for small and independent press, speculative fiction. We just did our first competition this year
Okay.
and just announced the winners. Great books, go check them out. I
Yeah,
have
that's
all,
fun.
yeah, I have all of them up. The winners, the finalists, the semifinalists, the nominees. I mean, I liked books on every single level. So I definitely recommend that you check them out.
Okay.
Yeah, and but like the person that helped me run that, the co-founder of the SSBA, Millie, she is a small press author. She's been published by multiple small presses.
Mm-hmm.
And she is like the kindest, nicest, most amazing person. Publishes great books that I love reading. I have a bunch left on my TBR that I need to finish, but I
Nice.
finished, I think three of hers this year and loved them. It's and she's been like the most supportive, not just with the SSBA, but also with my author journey, and like trying to help me and per you know offering a hand up, and
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, here's this cool thing I learned about the industry, you should use it
Yeah.
too. I can't tell you how valuable that is.
Right? Be like, this was great, or on the flip side, like, hey, this is what I did wrong. Don't do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
by the way, if you like speculative fiction, go check out her books. um, just a plug for her there.
Yeah. You
But
got to.
I do. I mean, and I genuinely like. She wrote this. For example, this sci-fi kind of thriller book, about this crystal and like this mystery that was around this crystal, and the crystal provided energy for the entire city.
Ooh.
And yeah, so she's already writing stuff that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think she mentioned that there might be more books coming. I don't know if that's an official announcement or not. But
Just
there,
rumors.
yeah, I mean, she's definitely writing more books in general,
Yeah.
so we'll just throw that out there.
Yeah.
But her new novel, The Color of Time, is coming out here soon, and I'm very excited about that. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just, but she's been an incredible friend, and so like helpful on so many levels. So I and that's just one example. I mean, there's
Yeah.
been a whole
That's
bunch of people that I've
amazing.
met. Yeah, like you, who just reached out and was like, "Hey, let's do an interview together." I mean,
Yeah.
that's so kind and so thoughtful and
Yeah.
so incredibly helpful, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, and and it's fun because then I can turn around and shout about all the books from my friends and
Yes,
just how
no, and
much I
it's
love
like it
them.
just
So
snowballs and
yeah,
it keeps going and that is, how we make it. Like, just word of mouth and supporting each other and yeah, I firmly believe in just helping other authors out, regardless of whether it does anything for me. Like, I don't want that to be my goal, like be like, oh well, I did this favor for so and so, now they owe me a favor. And like I
right.
am not that person, and I hope to never be a person like that. I was like, I just genuinely, like, yeah, like you said, just have always loved reading. I love books. I yeah have wanted, this is my lifelong dream to be an author.
Yeah,
Like, there was a little girl in her room writing mystery stories,
I love it.
um, and if only that little girl could see me now.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
That's it's so funny that you said that because that's kind of how I started out. I was obsessed with like Sherlock Holmes. It has nothing to do with my last name. Okay, maybe it does. Yeah,
Just
but
a little bit.
just a little bit. But yeah, I thought Sherlock Holmes was so cool and I wanted to write stories like that. And so like mystery was my first kind of love.
Yeah.
I was big into Nancy Drew and the Hardy
Oh,
Boys
Nancy
and
Drew. Yes. She was my girl. We
yeah.
would go to the local library
Hmm.
once a week and we'd get our books. And we lived in a small town, and so they had to, and this was back in the 90s. So
Yeah.
they had a
Yeah.
90s early 2000s, they
Yeah.
had, like a very, small selection. And so we would go and like look through them and hope there was ones that we hadn't read yet,
Yeah.
because they would cycle the books through the other libraries in the
Yeah.
district, so sometimes there'd be one we hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
But I
Which is
remember,
always an
yeah, going
awesome
to the
surprise.
library, checking out your daily limit in books,
Mhm.
and
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to go like with wider distribution because
hmm
I knew that if I like went through Ingram Spark and through like drafted digital for ebooks and stuff, I could get into libraries whereas
hmm
Amazon is like no.
like
Um
just us.
yeah,
Yeah.
Amazon doesn't know I exist, doesn't care.
Yeah.
Their algorithms are horrible.
Yeah, I just hear, and like the print quality too, for like the author
Horrible.
friends that I have that are self-published and have, ordered books through Amazon. Like, they just come, like, the coloring is weird, it varies, title to title, the books always come smashed. Like, there's just have been a lot of issues, and yeah, Amazon does not care.
Does not care. And Ingram Spark is somewhat better. I've heard nightmarish things
hmm
about that
I mean,
too.
weird things can still happen in the mail and books will get squished, but
Right. But yeah,
yeah,
Amazon's notoriously bad.
yeah.
So, now it's kind of cool because my friend Saffron, who runs Indiosyncrasy, she is trying to provide like an indie alternative to the big
Ooh,
printers. So she's
that would
doing
be cool.
right. She's doing one already with Matt Falcon, who wrote Tethered by Darkness,
hmm
or Tethered to Darkness. I always get it wrong. I think it's Tethered by Darkness. Anyway, sorry, Matt. He's gonna laugh at this when he sees this. But anyway, no, but she's printing his books, and it's looking so
Okay.
cool so far.
Okay.
And so she's like, well, I could provide an indie alternative, put more love and care into the books,
Yeah.
help you a little bit with the marketing, and then maybe make some money on the side because
Yeah.
she has been doing so much for indie authors for free. And she's like, I
hmm
do need to like pr- get
And
some
that's
income somehow.
fair. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, again, like
Mhm.
we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
working for free does not pay the bills. So, like, no
Right.
one should be expected to work for free.
Right. And she this is like an optional type of service that she's just kind of like, "Hey, it's there,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still going to do all this free stuff for all these
Yeah.
people."
But yeah,
And no
if you want,
obligation.
printing
Yeah.
done, I think it's a great option. And if, you're
Yeah.
someone that I guess isn't interested in like the distribution options that Ingram Spark has, and you want to be your own distributor and you want to support an indie business, I think that that is a great option.
Yeah. Yeah. So it kind of just depends on what you want to do. And then I think she's going to offer like, in the future once she's kind of figured this out a little bit more because she's kind of venturing into it right now. And right now she's starting with paperbacks, which look great
Mm-hmm.
so far. But I think she's going to eventually open up to hardcovers. She's eventually going to figure out
Okay.
straight edges, and so
Yeah.
it would be like, maybe you do like a special edition or something type of. I'm just thinking for myself
Yeah, or you want
selfishly
to
at the end
do
of the
yeah,
day.
you want to do a special edition. It's a limited print run. You want to
Mhm.
do a special edition for like a book box.
Yeah, yeah,
Then you're, supporting a small business and, also supporting a small business with the book box. And
right.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
so it's kind of neat. I mean, she's always coming up with these amazing ideas. If you don't know what idiosyncrasy is, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's just
Okay.
I know she's kind of revamping the website right now, but she has the Booked podcast, which is features indie authors like every Wednesday, and I think she's expanding it again, so it's
Okay.
going to be like
That sounds familiar. I think I've heard
yeah. So
of Booked.
I was on one episode, one of the
Okay,
live
you were
episodes,
on it.
the first one. But there have been a lot of amazing authors on there. And you can obviously watch the replays. It's not just
Mhm.
lives, but yeah, just great authors on there. People that I've just like, "Oh, I need that book." And bought it while I
Yeah.
was listening to the live.
Yeah.
So,
And that
um
is really um like a great way to like find new readers and stuff is through those direct sales. So
mhm.
I'm hoping with this interview that you'll get a couple get
That
some
would
people
be
to
cool.
add the floating castle to your TBR.
Yeah.
Let's see, how are we doing on time for you? If we want to do a couple more questions, or do you want to like wrap it up?
Oh, I can do a couple more questions. That's
Okay,
fine.
cool. Um, let's see. Oh yeah. So, um, what draws you to write about morally gray women? I know we
Yeah,
talked about kind of about what draws you to write, about the darker subjects and your goals with breaking into the boys' club of epic fantasy, but the women specifically.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm inspired a lot by real women in real life, and a lot of them are in my family, and a lot of them are
Mm-hmm.
my friends, and so those there's a lot of complicated women that I know.
Those real life stories, yeah.
Yeah,
Women are the
yeah.
ones you gotta watch out for. Like I when you're watching the UFC fights, I have watched them occasionally, and it was always the women that were the
Hmm.
most interesting and the most savage. And I did martial arts for 6 years, and it was
Nice.
the other girls most of the time that I
Yeah.
got hurt from.
Yes, yeah.
Women
I
are
think
not to be messed with.
right. I exactly.
They are savage, but also sneaky. And that's
Yes.
really yeah, what you
Yeah.
gotta look out for.
Yeah. I think those survival instincts kick in and also the smarts, right? So like
Yeah,
they're just thinking
yeah.
about what they're gonna
She
do.
will choose her moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will hurt.
Yes. Yeah. So it's funny you say that because I did judo and jujitsu for a while.
Ooh, yes. Oh,
And
jujitsu is my next one that I want to do.
yeah, I was terrible at it, just for the record.
Hey, at least you
Uh
did it.
at least I tried. If I could learn how to like throw my big boned body around, then maybe I would be a little bit more effective.
But you still have the edge on somebody that knows nothing.
True,
If you were in a
that is
street fight,
true.
I still bet it would count for something.
I that's what I'm hoping if I'm ever in
Yeah.
a situation where I need to use it is like, okay, maybe the surprise will,
Yeah. Yeah, the
um,
element of surprise. They're not going to be expecting it. And
yeah,
always fight dirty.
yeah,
Never fight with honor in a street fight.
no, no, not when you're trying to escape, especially, but no, no, but yeah, I had to stop because my doctor was like, yeah, you can't do high impact sports, not with your heart condition, you can't do
Yeah, and it
that.
is
So,
martial arts are definitely a high impact sport. I ended up
absolutely.
tearing an ACL, and that I went back after the surgery and the rehab, but I was never the same. Never the
Yeah,
same after that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been thrown around, nothing to that extent, but I mean, oh, I have just ached and ached and ached, and oh man, you have to be so careful about like the way you fall and everything, and
Yeah, and even, like hyperextending joints and anything like
oh yeah,
that, or depending on what type of martial art you're practicing, what type of school you're at. My my dojo, we were kind of known for being very aggressive. I never did any tournaments, but my understanding was we were kind of known for getting flagged at tournaments for excessive contact. We liked to beat each other up.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so yeah, you can get hurt pretty easily.
Mhm.
Even when you're trying to be careful, you can get hurt pretty
Yeah,
easily.
yeah. Things happen. Escalation, and yeah, you think you're being careful, and someone steps into you as you're punching or kicking them, and yeah, it's very unpredictable.
Yes, definitely. But the martial arts actually, I use some of that in my book, just some of the things that I learned. Uh, um, and it's not. I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert, but I remembered some of the things that we did and some of the
Mhm.
moves, and I also studied some like not just hand to hand type of combats, but like with swords and daggers and all kinds
Yeah.
of things.
And
So
I love that. See, I can already tell I'm just going to love your book because you can also tell when an author knows nothing about combat. And I would not call myself an expert in martial arts either, but like I have read some fight scenes where they're like having full on conversations while you're,
yeah,
punching and kicking and fighting for your life, and
yeah,
like it's just not realistic. Again, I get that like yeah, sometimes you need to stretch reality a little bit, and if they have to have this conversation, it's very fun to read, but there's still that part of me that's like that would never happen. The fight is going to be over really fast. But it's going to
right,
feel like you fought them forever, but it was probably only like 40 seconds.
yeah,
um,
yeah, exactly, yeah,
yeah, and so like just like I'm sure your martial arts um, was able to influence the way you wrote, even just from the perspective of understanding how bodies move in space and, the amount of effort it takes, to kick somebody in the head, like, or to swing a sword and, stuff like that. Like, it is not easy like they make it look in the movies.
it's
And it's
not.
not
It,
pretty like they make it look in the movies either.
no, and I try to kind of emphasize that a little bit, especially through Emmeline, who's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like my knight character. Um, she's called a dame in the book, and
Okay.
it's like the knight equivalent, but dames aren't allowed to own land. So
Oh, uh-huh. Of course.
yeah,
They'll
realistically.
let you serve, but no land for you.
Yeah, exactly. But, and Emmeline's so desperate, she's just kind of like, I just need a job, and I
That's
need
fair.
income, and I need to stay in the city and away
Pay
from
those
my.
bills.
I've got to pay those bills. So yeah, I mean, she comes from like a family of poor farmers, and then she's kind of escaping that life. So she has no income to start with. She's dependent on like this scholarship that she gets at this military academy, and then she's not. a good student, not because she doesn't want to be, but because she struggles, because she has like a learning disability. And
Yeah.
so,
And academics were probably not like a high priority on the farm either.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So, she comes in illiterate, and then she has the learning disability, and she struggles so hard. She's dependent a lot on her friend who helps her,
Mhm.
and her friend, and then Emmeline has feelings about that, right? Like, oh,
Mhm.
am I just being a burden to my friend? And then,
Yeah.
but then meanwhile, Emmeline can fight. Like, she's really good at fighting. Don't get me wrong, she's gonna get beat up too. Like,
Mhm.
she's gonna
Which
get knocked
again is
out.
very realistic cuz like you see, in books, especially in movies, but I've seen it in books too where yeah, it's like, well, they're the main character, like they're a super good fighter. They never get hurt. They never get hit. And I'm like, "No, you'll get hit.
Yeah,
It doesn't
a
matter
lot.
how good you are. You're going
Yeah,
to get hit."
yeah,
And
exactly.
the question that the my sensei would always, kind of pose the theoretical, I guess, question to kind of have in your mind. Like, if you're going to fight somebody, you're going to get hurt. That's a guarantee. The question is how bad. Like, how bad are you going to get hurt? And that's where your skill set kind of steps in.
Yeah. And that was something I had to learn and to overcome as far as like a fear, because
Mhm.
I was afraid of getting hurt, and
Yeah.
but I also wanted to learn how to defend myself. So those two
Yeah.
things were in conflict. And they're in the
Yeah.
sense they're in conflict in Emmeline as well.
Mhm.
They're kind of like, she kind of realizes like, oh, even though I'm good at this, like I'm gonna get hurt and I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna get
hurt
hurt. I could
people.
I could die, someone
I
could be
could
better than
die.
me. I could have an off day. You can't see everything happening in the heat of battle. Like,
Yeah.
no matter how good you are, you're still human.
Exactly. And she's always wanted like armor, and to have like this really pristine, beautiful armor. And then the day comes where she gets armor, and the
Mhm.
reality of that kind of sets in, and it's just like, now I have to fight with this on. Oh.
Yep. Oh, an extra like what, 80 to 100 pounds, depending on what type of armor. I could even be
Yeah.
wrong about that. I have no idea. It's like,
Yeah, I mean it's
I
heavy,
don't
right?
think I'd want to try to fight or, march for 3 days in armor and then have to fight at the end in battle. You won't be marching, I guess, if you're a city knight, but yeah, just having to fight in armor is impressive in itself.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I agree. And I think people don't really think about that. Even if you try to make it with lighter metals and stuff, I mean, you have to offset like protection for fatigue, right? And so
Mhm.
there's that kind of thought process. And then,
Like, there's the trade-off, like how thick are we making this, versus how heavy it's going to be. You're going to tire out faster, and then you're going to get sloppy and you're not going to be able to fight as well.
yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, oh, I'm losing my train of thought, but she's trained to fight assassins essentially, because she is ends up being a guard for an important person. I'm trying not to like
Okay.
spoil the whole book here, but she's a guard for an important person, and so she has to learn who is actually going to attack this person. Well, it's going to be assassins,
Mhm.
and I am trained to fight people head on who are going to announce that they're coming at me,
Yeah.
and
Are
now I have
probably
to.
using a similar weapon,
Exactly.
wearing,
Exactly.
armor as well, so you're kind of matched in that aspect. Where an assassin, you're not probably not going to see them coming.
Exactly. And so she has to learn a whole nother side to kind of like warfare in a sense. And because she's thinking like she was trained in the academy for like full on battle, and when she's a guard it's different. So yeah, but yeah, Emmeline is like, she I kind of joke that she's kind of like me. She's kind of simple, she's kind of not subtle. She's
Mm-hmm.
she's very straightforward, and you know what you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get with Emily, right?
Yeah.
And she kind of has all these complicated feelings about all these things. And she's easily manipulated by others, and
Because
so
she grew up on a farm, she's and because she's straightforward, in her mind, her first thought probably is not that people are lying and like court intrigue and
exactly.
um
Yeah, like
yeah,
that's all brand new to her. This whole idea of like court politics and everything is
like
completely
a
new to
culture
her.
shock pretty much.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
she's making mistakes and she's doing stuff she's not supposed to.
And that
She's
like,
not
oh, these people, they're saying nice things and they're smiling to my face and then they turn around and stab me in the back, later on. Like, what? Why?
right. Right. So she has to learn first that she is a pawn being moved around, and
Hmm.
what that means for her, and does she like that doing that job still as,
Yeah, because
this
it's not. I love that it's not what she thought it was going to be. Because isn't that so often the case?
so often the case.
Unfortunately.
Oh my gosh, yes. So,
uh,
and then with the other two, just thinking about morally gray, right? So,
mm-hmm.
Li is definitely probably my most morally gray character.
Ew.
um,
Mm.
and she's the one that's supposed to marry the prince. So she's
Okay.
the princess coming from the other nation. But her job, the thing that she was tasked with, is to kind of create a bloodless coup. She's going to marry this guy and then
Mm-hmm.
take over this kingdom,
Ooh,
right?
yes.
Um, and
I support her in this.
and all of it is motive. All of it's wrong, but all of it is
Mm-hmm.
motivated, like, so by this idea that she has to stay the favorite of the emperor, the favorite daughter of
Oh,
the
okay.
emperor.
So she's kind of being used as a pawn by both sides then probably. So
Yes,
I
because
support her in like taking the kingdom for herself eventually.
well, it's funny you say that, because she has to grapple with her own ambition, and she is
Mhm.
very ambitious, and so that ambition fights the loyalty side of
Mhm.
her, and then she fails a lot. And so so then she has to fall out of that failure, and then she has to kind of
Mhm.
figure out how to
Like
get
now
out of
what?
the
Now
situation.
what? I failed.
Like,
Like are my goals still the same? Are they even achievable? Do I have to kind of reinvent, who I am? And that also very very relatable, realistic. You kind of come to the end of the road and it's like now what?
exactly. Yeah. So, and this obviously, this growth and this kind of back and forth will happen across the series, but in the first book, she really has to grapple with her relationship with her father, and like
Mhm.
what that means for her, and is it love or is it something else?
Mhm.
And both ways, not just from him, but
Yeah.
her to him.
Yeah.
What is this relationship between them? What is it actually?
Yeah.
So,
The kind of the almost like, two truths existing at once. Like it could be both. It could be love, but it could also be very toxic.
yeah. Yep. Yeah. And so, and obviously the emperor, he wants to, take over this kingdom. He's trying to take over other kingdoms. So he is definitely trying to expand, and she thinks she's in line with that at the beginning of the
Mhm.
book, and then things happen. And
Mhm.
so she deals with like reality hitting her often,
Mhm.
and what this actually means to subjugate people, and
Yeah. How messy and not nice it actually is.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So she has lots and lots of pressures throughout the book
Mhm.
just on that.
I
And so
love that.
there's kind of an examination of um imperialism, and
Mhm.
these coups that can kind of happen, and yeah, and just like, yeah, she has to grapple with that. And then so then you have my witch character, and she's the fourth point of view, and there's four in the book. And you also get the villain.
Well, of course. Of
Yeah.
course you have to have the villain,
Yeah.
Gotta be balanced.
Yeah.
And, is the villain necessarily who we think it is sometimes?
Well, there's definitely there's definitely I love that question. There's definitely the clear main antagonist, but there'll
But from
be
his point of view, the people that are against him are the villain. So I
exactly,
guess it depends on who
exactly.
you're rooting for.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Which
I
is why we love our complicated, morally gray characters. Because yeah, you could kind of, depending on who you are as a reader, you
yep.
might side with one person versus another.
Yeah, and I actually find that really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting those reactions from readers and just being like, "This was my favorite character, and here's why." And I'm just like, "Tell me more," because I love that. I love
Yeah,
like how we all approach these stories differently.
yeah.
And
And what
our
stands out is different, and what the
yeah.
takeaway
Hmm.
is. And I have loved, like, yeah, getting feedback on like some of the little things that I've kind of left kind of vague or open-ended in the Revere trilogy. And there's one character in particular. He um he was very much, yeah, kind of a morally gray area for me. He was definitely a product of his environment, but like a lot of the stuff he did, I personally find gross and don't condone. But at the same time, like, he's not cruel. He is a very kind person, and he's not doing any of these things with like malicious in his heart. He just genuinely doesn't realize like how that would feel um to the main character. um
That's interesting.
and yeah, like he is just such a product of his environment. He can't see outside of his existence, and that other people are living in different existences, and
Yeah.
coming from very different backgrounds. And so most readers have, um, he's also very funny and witty. He was so fun to write. Honestly, I loved writing him, but at the same time, I'm like, this guy, you are gross.
Yeah.
Um, but
It could be
most
both.
readers have been like, "Ooh, yeah, he was kind of sleazy. Like he was funny but sleazy." But I have had a couple that were like, "Oh, like I really liked him. Like he was a nice guy." And I'm like, "Was he though? Was he?"
Wow. See, that's interesting to me.
Mhm.
Like and this is why it's important to write complicated characters and not shy away from them, not make them one-dimensional because
Mhm.
we as human beings need to understand perspective other people's perspectives, and fiction is a
Mhm.
safe wonderful way to do that, and we can
Yeah.
discuss those things and we can talk about it and really try to understand
Understand it.
each
No
other
real
better.
people are getting hurt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen a quote or two about this, but and I'm gonna misquote it, and I don't remember who said it, so I'm not gonna try to quote it exactly. But basically, the idea is that, like, when you're watching a movie, you're just watching it. You're a voyeur. You're not experiencing anything with the characters, but when you're reading, you have to bring something of yourself to a book and reading. And so outside of actually having real world experiences that teach you empathy, reading is the only art form that can, like, teach you empathy in a close enough way to match reality.
Yes, yes.
And
Which
I
is
believe that.
yeah. Yeah, which is why like okay, so escapism is cool, but like I really need those complicated characters, those
Mhm.
like deep dives
Yeah.
into
If
and
all you're reading ever is escapism, like, you're probably not learning anything about other experiences. You're not learning anything about yourself. You're not growing. It's like just eating candy for every meal every day. Like, I personally don't think that's good for you. Like, you need a variety of things. Candy is great. Like, dessert, delicious.
yeah.
Have your dessert, but, you know, try other things too.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like oh, yeah, that was so well put. I feel like the mm, I'm trying to think how to put this. The escapism is good in some sense, because it can let our brains calm down.
Mm-hmm.
But you should
Yeah.
read stuff that, you know, uh, challenges you and makes you uncomfortable.
Makes
Some
you
of my
uncomfortable,
favorite,
challenges your worldview, and makes
yeah,
you think.
yeah. Some of
Yeah.
my favorite books in the world are the ones that have made me the most uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just can't help but love those books because they taught me something or they made me think about um people in a different way that
Yeah.
ways that I needed to think about them in a more empathetic way, so
Mm-hmm.
I've just learned a lot by reading the really complicated characters.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great about morally gray characters because they're doing bad things
They
sometimes.
are doing bad
And
things. Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
but, depending on who's reading, it might, seem less bad. It might seem, more on the side of straight up evil, and the reader might, you know, think certain actions are more bad than others, and then someone else might see it the flip way. It's like, well, they did this one thing and that wasn't too bad, but then they did this other thing and yeah, that was bad.
yeah, and I think it's
Mhm.
good to like recognize that too,
Mhm.
because you can see the human being, you can see their behavior and recognize that the behavior is wrong, but still empathize with the human
With the
being.
human being, you can see because you've experienced part of their life with them, so you can see why they made those choices. Like
Yeah,
why, like what brought them to this point, what shaped their viewpoint to think that this was okay, or what desperation brought them to this point where, they're just doing what they have to survive or to protect someone else or, serve the greater good, whatnot. Yeah, you're actually getting the human the
hmm
human aspect of it. And I really like books that get into, how far we'll actually go to survive or how far we'll actually go to protect somebody we love, and it happens fairly quickly and fairly easily. Like
yeah,
we like to think that we're such good honorable people and like, oh, I would never do that.
right,
It's like, well, you've never had to choose whether you were going to do
exactly.
that or, your sister was going to die.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
your answer might be different in the moment.
absolutely, yeah. And when you're faced with like mortal danger too, like
Mhm.
I
A lot of
we
times it's your primal brain making that decision at that point. Like
yeah.
your logical brain is not in control anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of times we think, "Oh, well, I would be the hero or I would do this."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Okay, let's be real. I'd probably run." Like
Yeah.
I'd
Most
probably
people
run
would
for my life.
run and, no one would fault you for doing that.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. Like the primal stuff is a whole nother thing, but like, when you're really thinking about this bad thing that you want to do, there's something very interesting and layered to that.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting when the characters don't even realize, like they have no
Yeah.
self-awareness, but
Yeah.
they're doing something anyway, and the reader has the awareness
The
of what's
reader has
going
the awareness and the context, but the character doesn't. And yeah, I love that because nobody is the villain in their own mind.
on. Right, right.
But yeah, being the reader, we have the privilege of, the multiple perspectives. If you have multiple perspectives in your
Yeah.
book, it sounds like you do.
Yeah, and they all kind of look at each other differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
is like real life.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I could talk about this all day. I just love
And I
this stuff.
love talking about it too. Yeah. It's always so
Yeah.
fun to get to talk to another author.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
you get it. Like this is what drives us in a sense is
That
creating
genuine love of like books and characters, and
Yeah,
yeah, people are
yeah,
so interesting.
yeah. They are, and they don't always do the logical thing that
No.
you think that they're going to do. Um, and that is so interesting when you put it in fiction.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it really is. And
yeah,
like with fiction, it has to be a little bit more succinct and organized than the real life, but you still get those moments when the characters surprise you, and that is my absolute favorite where it's like, "Oh, I thought this scene was going in one direction, but I guess we're going over here now," or "I had no idea what was going to happen and
yeah,
this is what came out."
yeah. I love that. I always aim for, I don't know if I always achieve, but I always aim for um surprising and yet inevitable. I know some
Mm-hmm.
famous writer said that. Again, I don't know who said it, um but yeah, I try to like sprinkle in clues, but also I try to make
Yeah.
it like really gratifying and rewarding for the reader when
When they
they
finally get there, they're like, of course! Like, I had all of the pieces. I
yeah,
just didn't see the picture until
yeah,
now. And
yeah,
that, yeah, and that really, like, for me is a sign of whether someone is good at their craft. If they can sprinkle those clues,
I try.
um, and
Yeah.
every story's different too.
Hmm.
How many you need to leave and whatnot. And every reader's different. Some people pick up on certain things that other people don't. So you can't fool everybody. But yeah, I love it when I get there and then I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
of course. Why didn't I
Yeah.
see this?
Yeah. And for the readers who are like working two jobs and who are trying to keep up with the story, I try to make it simple
Mm-hmm.
enough in the sense of like, you're not going to miss everything, right?
Yeah.
You're like I'm definitely going to reward you for paying attention to
Yeah.
detail, but I also want to create this good story that you can
Yeah.
actually
You'll
follow.
still enjoy it, even if you're not the person that's like noticing every little minute,
Right.
you know, detail.
Right. Right. Yeah, because I get frustrated sometimes, like because sometimes like authors do these cool things for their fandoms or whatever, and then they'll
Mm-hmm.
put Easter eggs in from other fandoms, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, I totally missed that. Like as I went past it,
Yeah. So,
and
because I was just enjoying the story and
right.
I wasn't on a treasure hunt.
Yeah, yeah, and so sometimes it obscures things, and I'm like, oh, I don't know where I'm going now. Like, I don't know what the
Mm-hmm.
story is even doing now because I don't understand this reference or I don't understand
Yeah.
this thing. And so that always kind of annoys me. So I try not to do that to my readers
Yeah,
if I
do
can
it
avoid
like
it.
too much, or yeah,
Yeah,
where it becomes distracting, where it's just too many little like references to other things that really don't matter. Yeah, it can definitely get like chaotic and messy
absolutely. Yeah.
because then you're just confusing people because you're when you're reading, you're kind of assuming if the author bothers to mention it, it's important on some level. So yeah, if they're leaving these clues and then it's not going anywhere. You're like, why? Why? You're just playing with me. I'm being teased, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to do that either. Like,
Yeah.
because I definitely want the reader to feel like this is worth their time.
Mm-hmm. They can trust you. That you
They
know
can
where you're
trust
taking
me.
them,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if they don't like where they end up.
Exactly. Yeah,
You know where you're going at least.
yeah. Yeah, and I love like creating because as a reader, I love being like just torn apart by books, right?
Yes.
Like just like, oh, this is so good and so I'm just gonna cry now. And
Like,
because it was so I feel so much.
mm-hmm.
I
All the
I
feelings. Like, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
I'm
love
so
doing that for
devastated.
other people. Right.
I know it's not real, but I felt everything.
Right. And actually,
Yeah.
I'm discussing this plot point right now with my friend who's been reading my books, and she's an author in her own right, and
Mm-hmm.
she was just recently published by Rattle, so you should go check out her poem.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
her name's Leah Hedrick. So yeah, great poem in Rattle. But anyway, so she's great because she pays attention to detail like a poet.
Like a
And
poet. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so she has amazing suggestions, and there's this plot point that I'm just like, I'm not sure that I actually can do this because it's so devastating to me, like the writer.
Yeah.
And I
Like, can
know
I live with my choices?
exactly. And so, like, if I know it's this devastating for me, what am I gonna do to the reader? So I'm just like, are they gonna hate me? Are they gonna throw the book?
They're gonna hate me forever.
Right.
I don't know. I'm always on the side of go for it.
Well, and that's what she said to me. She's like, it
Don't
is
hold back.
it is totally necessary, like to the
Yeah.
plot. This is it's all leading to this, and
All makes sense.
it's all
Like,
makes
you
sense.
have to do it.
And
Yeah.
so I'm gonna
Yeah.
take a huge risk, and I'm
Better.
gonna do it.
I support this. I support this.
Thank you. I feel better with your support. But
I mean,
yeah,
go for the throat.
yeah. Yeah, and that's
Oh,
funny because there's a lot of go for the throat in this
ooh,
book.
yes.
If you read it, you'll see what I mean. But
Yes. Oh,
um,
I'm so excited. I'm so gonna read it. Um, on my yes, my TBR for 2026.
yeah,
I
mine's
have
very
been
long.
wanting to read a fantasy. I needed to palate cleanse for a little while. I was like, I just need to read some standalones. Like, I just need that like quick gratification of finishing a book and the story's done. And like I mentioned earlier, I do love me some folk horror. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love my creatures and cryptids. So I've been reading a lot of that.
nice.
But I have felt the deep. I think it's the winter call of needing a fantasy book.
Yeah, definitely. I
Need me
you
some
know,
dragons.
yeah. Well, there's definitely dragons in this book.
Yes.
So you'll get your dragon fix. Yeah, part of me is just a kid always, and like I'm just like dragons.
Yes. Because who doesn't like? How could you just not love dragons?
It's so funny. I was listening to this other booktuber who I really like. He's hilarious, and he was talking. I was watching this live with another author, and he was talking to the author, and he's like, "Yeah, just tell him there's dragons in the book. It'll sell every time at these
Yep.
conventions."
Yep.
So that's like a bit of his selling point, and he's
Yeah.
like,
Dragons. I
yeah,
mean, and you don't have to specify what type of dragons or like
exactly.
if they're live dragons or sentient dragons or dragons of legend or
Yep.
yeah,
Just you say dragons, throw me the book.
dragons.
I'll throw you my money.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I have never written anything with dragons. I don't have any plans to write anything with dragons, but
there.
that could it could happen at some point. But yeah, I love reading about dragons.
Well, I one of my favorite things is when someone takes something expected and twists it.
Mhm.
I just recently acquired a book from Nick Snape. I just bought a book from him, and then he sent me another one because there was like this mix up with the cover. But um, anyway, the his covers are awesome. But yeah, his dragons have a twist, and I like that.
Ooh, yes.
So it's you can. I mean, it's fun kind of being an indie author because you can do whatever
You
you
can do
want.
whatever you want and no one is going to stop you. No one's going
Exactly.
to stop you and be like, "Well, this isn't really what's hot in the market right now.
Right. Right.
So, don't write it or, we don't want to publish it because like yeah, it's just not going to sell." Um
Yep.
my
So
current work in progress definitely more I guess a little bit more mainstream than what the Revere trilogy was. The Revere trilogy, I was like, I'm going to write the book that I have always wanted to read, and I don't care if no one else in the world likes it,
full support.
because
I love
I
it.
love it. Um, but this next one, I'm hoping is a little bit more mainstream. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to stop myself from putting some like weird stuff in it
Yes. Give me
that
the
like
weird
that I
every
want to
day.
do. And if people don't like it, if publishers don't like it, oh well. Then I guess if it doesn't sell, then I'll self-publish it and write the next thing and see what happens. Because yeah, I don't want to pigeonhole myself.
Yeah.
I want to still
Exactly.
enjoy creating
Yeah.
and yeah the process, and I want to enjoy being a writer because I have always enjoyed it. And I will say in the last like couple years, there's definitely pressure once there's contracts and money attached to
Yeah.
your craft, and it does take a little bit of the joy out of it. So you have to reclaim that joy for yourself wherever and however you can. Um, at least for me, I don't ever want it to become just a job or just a chore or an obligation or feel like I owe anybody anything. Like, no, at the end of the day, I'm still doing this for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Support, 100%
Yeah.
support. I love that, and I feel like, if you start to lose that love, that grasp of that, kind of why you started to do it in the first
Mm-hmm.
place, readers are gonna know. It's gonna
Yeah.
feel soulless, and it's gonna not,
Yeah. It's
you
gonna feel
know,
flat and formulaic, and yeah, I agree. I think they can tell. Along the lines of this, I don't know if we've kind of just answered this next question, but my last question I have for you is: do you have any advice for writers or new writers, especially?
yeah. I think a lot of creative writing programs, and I know we're talking about writers all across the spectrum, so you
Mm-hmm.
might not go into college or an MFA or whatever. But one of the biggest critiques I have with creative writing programs is they teach you none of the business side of writing.
Mm.
It's all about craft. And so for the people who are
Okay.
just there for the craft, cool, that's great. But for those who are there to actually publish it and participate in these industries, right? Like publishing or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have a rough time. Um, if you don't know that stuff already,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the stuff I had to learn on my own. And
Okay.
so I wish I had double majored in creative writing and publishing, because I would have gotten the business
Mm.
side with publishing.
Okay. That
So
is great advice and great to know. And yeah, I do not have an MFA. Yeah, I didn't love college English or high school English
fair. Yeah,
because
fair.
I didn't want other people telling me what to read and write. So I knew I didn't want a degree in that, but I hadn't even thought about that, and that is great advice.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
explains a lot, actually, about people. Some people seeming unaware about like the business side of things, or even like the predatory
yeah, scams.
side of the
Ugh,
business aspect.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so
So
that's great advice. Yeah, just be aware. You might want to double major,
yeah,
or just have to learn it, off the internet like everybody else.
I mean, that's kind of what I did. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I'm definitely self-taught. Any
yeah.
business stuff that I learned, I'm definitely
Mhm.
self-taught over years and years and years, and some of that was just trial
Doing
and error.
Yeah, doing things wrong sometimes you realize like, oh, I won't do that again. That's
Yeah,
that's how I've learned of a lot of things, either, yeah, just from observing other people making mistakes, or yeah, the stuff now, having a few years being published under my belt, being like, okay, I wouldn't make these choices again.
yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's just you have to learn it that way. I mean, there's no perfect
Yeah.
entering into these industries because
Yeah.
they're always changing.
Things are going to go wrong, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, things will happen. Nothing will be perfect. It's not the
Yeah.
end of the world.
The market always changes,
The
publishers
market
shut
always
down,
changes. Yeah.
agents leave the business, and it's like, there's so much that changes so fast.
Yeah.
And
It's for a lot, for all the time it feels like nothing is happening because there's a lot of waiting, but then all of a sudden, yeah, your agent will email you out of the blue, which is what happened to me with my first agent. He emailed me one day and was like, I'm leaving the business.
yeah,
And it thankfully he set me up with another agent at the same agency, and I ended up signing with them, and they've been
yeah,
great so far. I
good.
still have yet to write a book for them to sell, but I'm working on it. Working on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
Sarah.
More power to you. Yeah,
But yeah, like I was not expecting that to happen, and it worked out fine, but there was that like minute where I was like, oh my gosh, like I made it this far and now I have to start over. I have to go back to querying again.
uh,
Like this is not how I envisioned this
exactly.
happening.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, life goes on. Life goes on.
yeah, it does. And I think, I think, I've actually heard a lot of people who have said, you think you've made it, you've got an agent, you're good to go, and then it's just straightforward from there, but it's not. And a lot of people on their second, third, fourth agents,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
again,
they leave the business, they drop you, for whatever reason, they can't sell your book, and they decide to part ways, and or yeah, they don't sell your book. Having an agent doesn't guarantee that your book is going to get sold. So you might, have to shelve that and write another book. You might, end up self-publishing that book, or just saving it for later.
yeah,
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 the
and
agent
I
is just the first of many steps. First, you got to get that door open, even, and that feels insurmountable sometimes. I
oh yeah, for sure.
queried, and I like to tell people the timeline of the Revere trilogy, but also the timeline of my, I'm going to say career, but I have, not made barely any money. I don't support myself off of my books, and I, was not making money up until the last 3 years. I feel like calling it a career is kind of a lie,
It's not
but it
though.
still
I mean, because
counts.
you're
Like,
putting
it's
in the
still a
work.
career. I'm
Yeah,
doing the work, and now I am, getting paid a little bit.
good.
But so
That's awesome.
I started writing when I was a kid. Um, uh, in high school, I decided I actually wanted to try to get published. I kind of realized I was like, oh, this is actually something that I can probably do. This was in the mid
Yeah,
2000s, so self-publishing really was still not very accessible, not very much of a thing.
right.
Not like it
It's
is
all
now.
vanity.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I wrote a 4-book sci-fi series.
nice.
Um, Tried to get an agent for years.
Yeah.
Rewrote the series, tried to get an agent, rewrote the series again, tried to get an agent. I got so hung up on this series. I was so passionate about it. And this, like I was saying earlier, I hyper focus on a project, not necessarily like, I lose 10 hours a day writing and forget to feed myself, but I get that tunnel vision with a project. And once I'm in it, I do not let go.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes to my detriment. So I spent 10 years writing and rewriting this 4-book series. Um, and there are still aspects of it that I love.
Yeah.
But I'm also very glad that it never got published.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because there are some things about it that are very cringy. So if the story as it was that I had written in my teens and even into my early 20s, I'm so glad that story is not out in the world for strangers to read, because that does not reflect on who I am anymore, but it would have reflected who I was at the time, but, a naive teenager. So I'm glad that I don't have to have that out there embarrassing myself. But at the same time, that was 10 years of rewriting and querying, and
Yeah.
that,
That's a
if anyone
significant amount of
has
time.
experienced that, I feel you. It wears you down, and you feel like you will never get what you want, and you watch other people get what you want, and yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
I still was kind of like working on a rewrite of that series, like with some of the core ideas, because I really still like some of the core ideas. But
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, I'm gonna turn this into an adult book. And then I decided to write the Revere trilogy kind of as a palate cleanser, and I was like, you know what, I just need to write something completely different, and this is gonna be the one. And it did end up being the one. I didn't make it big, but I queried for over a year. I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was almost 2 years, like a year and a half for sure.
It takes forever. Yeah.
Before I got my first agent, and I remember where I was standing in the kitchen when I read that email that he had read the full draft and he wanted to represent me. I did the full on, like, super dramatic, you kind of fall against the wall and you slowly, like, slide down and you're
Yeah.
crying. I was like, this is my, like, dramatic movie moment, but I was
Yes.
so overcome just to have made it further than I had ever made it before, and that validation that somebody liked my project and wanted, wanted to work with me. Um,
Yeah.
it was definitely all worth it. It has not been smooth sailing since then, yeah, because nothing ever goes to plan. But at the end of the day, I always wanted to be a published author, and now I am. So anyone out there, don't give up. It doesn't matter if it takes 10 years. Doesn't matter if it takes 15 years. It's never too late.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think that's amazing. Because, so many people would have given up. And I mean, I have like 7 novels that will never see the light of day that are
Mm-hmm.
sitting in drawers.
But we've
Um,
we've got our secret treasure.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't even know that it was a secret treasure for me, like those novels. I think it was just I was still learning, I was still
Yeah.
learning how to write, and it's okay to not be perfect and
Yeah, it
not
is
write
totally
just
okay to not have your, the first book you've ever written be this amazing debut. That is actually very rare. That people like Leigh Bardugo, for example. I love her prose. She writes beautifully. I also got to meet her
nice.
once years ago, and she was delightful.
I'm sure.
Um,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, but yeah, most stories are not going to look like that, where decide
Yeah,
you're going to write a book and you write the Grisha trilogy
yeah.
and you get big.
And
Like,
I just
so
feel
comparing
like,
yourself to that isn't fair to you.
yeah. Yeah, comparing yourself in general to anyone else because your
Mhm.
art is your art. Or the way that you express yourself is unique to you. And
Mhm.
so I feel like if we're trying to be the next George R. R. Martin or and this is why I hate comparables. Um, you know,
Oh, right. Oh, those comp titles.
yeah, and readers expect it now too. So it's like
Yeah. It's
they
kind of,
expect you to pitch your
it's
book that way.
unavoidable.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
kind of have to
Oh,
do it, but at the same time I hate
everybody
it.
hates it. We all hate it. I'm
Yeah.
glad that we all hate it
Yeah.
collectively.
Yeah. Because I'm like it sets you up for expectations that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, okay, so our dragons are kind of similar, but like also
There's
like not.
dragons and court intrigue, assassins.
Right, but like my story's completely different. So, it's kind of silly in a sense,
Hmm.
and I
And
guess
then you
people
get the people that are like, "Ugh, that's so pretentious of you comparing yourself to this big author." And I'm like,
like, I'm
you
sorry,
can't win.
you can't win. And then it's like, because readers are all different levels, right? Some
Yeah.
have read widely and they know like the
They
genre very
know, and
well.
they know like the more obscure authors. But it's like, if I don't compare myself to someone who's well known, you might not know, like, you might not have any comparison because you've never read, this obscure book.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I
Yeah.
say my book is a lot like the Women's War, people look at me like I have 2 heads. I mean, because it's like, well, what's that book?
Yeah.
And unless you have read in that vein of fantasy, you don't
Hmm.
know what that book is. And
Yeah.
and
So again,
so
like, it's useless. There's no context.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I comp to George R. R. and
Hmm.
and The Witcher because they're big franchises
People
and
know what to expect at
yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
and it's so
I
funny
think those
because
are
they're
great comps.
well, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
just
as you're describing, your book to me, I was like, this sounds like all of the best elements of Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, if you want to be correct for the series in the
yeah,
book world. It's
yeah,
all Game of Thrones now.
yeah.
But yeah, like the different things, I'm like, yes, this sounds like all of the stuff I loved about Game of Thrones, but without a lot of the stuff that I didn't.
That's it. Thank you. It's kind of reactionary in a little bit because you were talking about what inspired the Floating Castle, and there's
Mm-hmm.
multiple things, and one of the things was I read Game of Thrones.
As a lot most people who are, big fantasy fans have at least read a little bit of it. You've at least sampled it.
So I'm gonna admit something that might get me thrown out of certain camps, and I don't know that I really care, but
Maybe you don't even want to be in those camps.
maybe I don't want to be in those
Yeah.
camps. The first time I read Game of Thrones, I stopped at 100 pages because I hated it so much, and then I finally forced myself to read the whole book because I'm like, everybody is loves
Everybody
Game of
raves
Thrones.
about it. Okay,
Yeah,
I will put myself out there too. Um, The Name of the Wind was that one for me. People
yeah,
rave about Name of the Wind. The most common comment I get from people, and it's weird that I get this same comment from multiple people. They're like, "It's amazing, but I can't tell you why." And I'm like, what do you mean you can't describe it, or like you literally can't tell me why? Like there's a pact to not tell me why. There's like a curse, or you're spoiling something if you tell me why it's amazing.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of questions about that
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could not get into it. I was like, I don't care about this story. I'm bored. This feels like a boys club book pick. I
Yeah.
just don't like it. And I was like, you know what? I don't like it. I'm not going to read it. And yeah, there are some fantasy readers that would probably disown me over that. The people that love me already, that love that book, they still like me, even though I didn't like it. They were just disappointed because we couldn't talk about it, but like, sorry guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't read the whole Game of Thrones series because I couldn't force myself past the first book.
And that's fair.
But I did read the first book because I'm like I
You
hate
tried.
DNFing.
You tried. You made an
I
effort.
hate DNFing,
I
but
read the first two and a half, and that's it. And then the TV show caught up with it. I'm like, well, I can just keep watching the TV show. And I know they're
yeah,
different. I know they're
yeah,
different.
yeah.
I was
But
a big,
still,
I was a big fan of Daenerys, and that's what kind of kept me reading, at least as far as I did. But there was just too much other stuff going on that I didn't care about.
yeah, Daenerys was actually the reactionary part for me. Like
Yes,
she,
yes,
I was just like, I can tell that this is not written by a woman.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
and
Oh, don't even
again,
get me started on that. That is my biggest pet peeve with male authors. I have DNF'd a lot of books over
and
that.
and don't get me wrong, like there are tons and tons of men and who've written amazing female characters, like just phenomenal. Now I do not agree with everyone else that George is one of them, and I will probably get kicked in the face for that. But
Yeah, he did better with some characters than others. Daenerys was
agreed,
one
yeah.
that I was like, this is
Yeah,
icky.
I made that face
Yeah.
throughout the whole book. Yeah, that was my face throughout the whole book. Um,
he did like better with Catelyn Stark. I felt like she had, like, I guess, less of the male gaze on her. She just felt more like a character and less like there as like something to look at for the boys.
exactly. Yeah. Um, that's the reactionary part, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, not every like woman in fantasy has to be beautiful. Like, or
Yeah.
or or like, if they're not beautiful, they're not just like this hated like
Hated
nagging.
crone and they're
Exactly.
bitter and angry and
Sometimes
yeah.
dangerous, right? And it's
Yeah.
and they have to be like defeated or knocked down a peg or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
but don't get me wrong, I haven't read the whole Game of Thrones series because I couldn't get back past the first book,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm sure there's like there's more depth to this than I'm giving it. And again, like I think it's okay to take risks, a lot of risks with
Mm-hmm.
fiction. I think we're actually pulling back too much on the risks that we're taking with
Yeah.
fiction.
The better, I feel like the bigger the risk, the better the book. Like the books that I have loved are the ones that weren't afraid. The author didn't flinch with their subject matter. And not to the point of being gratuitous, because you can get too much the other way, and I don't love that.
Right.
Which is the issue I have with quite a few male authors, especially. They seem to be, I guess, in regards to their treatment of female characters, tend to be the most
Hmm.
gratuitous. But then on the flip side, you have like the gratuitous spiciness, and I don't. That's not for me. If that's what you like, don't get all butt hurt. But like we talked about earlier, it's just not what I like. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So we're regardless of anyone's gender status or, pronouns or anything. We can all be guilty of being gratuitous. Um,
True.
but I
True.
don't like it when an author tries to write about a hard topic and you can tell that they're uncomfortable, that they kind of hold back, and then it waters down the message and the experience of the characters. And so I'm like, if you're uncomfortable with this, don't write it. And maybe the reason that you're uncomfortable is for a reason, and this is something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, fair. Yeah, it's actually I wrote a short story that actually I was dealing with that. I had a scene that was making me very uncomfortable, and I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't normally venture this far into this vein of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of really uncomfortable with it, and I had to come to terms as to why I was uncomfortable with it, and it was because it was too similar to experiences that I had had. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was making me uncomfortable because I as a human being was uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I realized that's exactly the feeling I want the reader to feel in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's necessary to write it this way to make you feel that ick
Yeah.
because
Like, it's
I
not a
need to
feel
say
good piece.
it. It's what?
It's not a feel good piece.
It's not a feel good piece.
Yeah.
Right. And I wanted you to feel that kind of I wanted to make you uncomfortable with
Mm-hmm.
the character because the character because um so it's something it's not necessarily sexual, but it
Mm-hmm.
is leaning towards the sexual assault.
Okay.
And I always lean away from that normally because
Mm-hmm.
there's so much of that in fantasy.
There's so much of that in fantasy. There's so much of that in reality. Like,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, but because there's so much of that in our reality, it is something that needs to be talked about.
Exactly. So it was like one of those things that really, 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 really challenged me. And but I also was like, but I want you to get the other perspective because so often I see the perspective of like the male hero
Mm-hmm.
or the one who's committing the assault.
Yes, the one who's committing the assault or the savior.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
And
the woman is just
not the
like
one who's
there.
actually experienced the assault.
Exactly.
They're just
Exactly.
painted usually in broad strokes as the victim, or like they just put it away and it's like, no, no, I'm fine, like, I'm tough, I'm over it. um
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that I really liked about this other book that I read recently, by Molly McCobb. She writes horror,
mhm.
and in Dark Bloom, there is a character that experiences, pretty extreme. I mean, it's horror, um, yeah, stuff, but it's also from her perspective, and you get that this is not okay, that she's
Mhm.
not okay with it, that she's trying to escape, that she's trying to survive,
It's not
and
sexy in any way,
it's
like,
not sexy in any way,
because
right?
I
And
hate it when that line gets blurred.
oh yes, absolutely. So and then you see the fallout of that. You see like how she has to move forward with other relationships with
Mhm.
that. And I thought, this is horrifying to me, like absolutely downright horrifying to me, but it's also like a story that needs to exist.
Mhm.
And so it was like again, one of those things where it was like it was so uncomfortable and made me feel horrible. But it was also like this character, you know, their perspective is important for
Yes.
empathy's sake, for
Mhm.
understanding people who've gone through severe trauma.
Mhm.
Um, I just think about sometimes about people who have been like locked in a room for years and, who can relate to them? No one.
No one.
I
Because
mean,
that just, for most of us, that has not been our reality.
exactly. But they need empathy and they need to be
Mm-hmm.
understood. And so like fiction can help us with that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
fiction can bridge that gap, and that's why I love it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well said. It's just, yeah, yeah, that's it. Like, we get to live in another person's experience and see them as a human being, and that's what teaches us empathy.
Yeah, yeah. So fiction and storytelling is super powerful, and
Mm-hmm.
I love it as an art. I can't imagine doing anything else. That's why I wrote the Floating Castle, and Space Collisions, and yeah. So I plan on keeping going, and doing my thing, and just a one last thing, but I feel like whatever, because we were talking about advice for writers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like whatever route you go, whether you do get picked up, right, by a big publisher, or you go
Mm-hmm.
small press and indie press, or you do self-publishing and you do it all on your own, there is no right or wrong. It's just your own personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of indie, like there's a lot of people who indie publish who would never go trad, and there's a lot of trad published authors who would never choose to go indie, and that's okay. Like it's okay to do the route that's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
And don't believe people who say that you have to do this one thing, and
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
not true. There's so much advice that won't work for you,
Yeah. It's like
and
with this, and for even each book will vary. Yeah. Like
exactly.
the idea that there's one right path, or that one path makes you more successful than somebody else. Yeah, none of that is true, and everyone defines success in their own way. I actually like asking people, what's your idea of being successful? And everybody has a different answer. And so we're using a lot of times that lens too to compare ourselves, to other people. But yeah, have to keep in mind other people have different definitions of success. So they might be looking at you and thinking you're super successful and amazing,
Yeah,
and they're jealous
absolutely.
of where you're at. And
Yeah.
so yeah, you just don't know. So yeah, that is excellent, excellent advice.
Yeah,
Um,
comparison is toxic. Community is what you need.
mm-hmm.
You need other writers, you need other readers, you need to love the stories, you need to love
Yeah.
yourself, you need to love others and build each other up. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only way this works.
Yeah.
Competition kills us all. Like it
Competition
really.
kills us all, and there's no way, honestly, to like self sabotage, in my opinion, any more than that is by, being super toxic. Um, because, yeah, you will lack that community that will rally around you and help you.
Yeah, and that's so valuable, like so valuable in and
Mm-hmm.
of itself, because you have people who
Yeah.
believe in you and who are cheering you on and
Yeah.
love your art.
Love
And
your
I
art,
mean,
and when you're in those moments where you do feel discouraged, you have that to fall back on and to remember, like, yeah, like other people have enjoyed this. Like I'm not doing this for nothing. And not that validation from other people is all that matters, but not gonna lie, it
100%.
feels good.
Yeah, it does.
It feels
It
good
does.
when somebody's like, "Yeah, I read your book and I loved it."
Yeah.
Feeds our souls, our crusty old souls.
Yeah, but there's like a genuine connection there too.
Mhm.
Like, and that's what we're really going for, right? When we
Yeah.
create art is to create those connections.
Create
That's
those connections. Yeah. And it's
yeah.
like I spent the time to write this story that was super important to me, and now I get to share it with other people, and am so excited. Like
Yes.
that's the goal, is to get to express yourself, but then to show it to other people.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. So,
Mhm.
yeah, be in community if you can, and lift each other up and talk about each other's books and really, really like, remember that this is an art.
Mhm.
And, there's different paths, there's different ways that you can express yourself and do things, and it's okay to try. And I would
Mhm.
encourage every new writer to keep trying and trying and trying new things and to
Yes.
take risks and to do the weird and
Yes, do the weird.
um
Don't get stuck for 10 years in a project that's not going anywhere unless you're having a great time.
yes.
I was not having a great time for some of that. And so looking back, I'm like, man, I should have just cut myself loose and written something else, but it was, yeah, it was what I needed to do to develop my craft, and I needed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
finish, the story, and I needed to finish my personal journey with trying every option and failing at all of them. And then
Yeah.
realizing, you know what? Now I'm ready. Let's move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's so much emphasis on failure, failure,
Mhm.
failure, but art is experimentation.
Art, yeah.
It's
Art is never a
trial and
failure.
error. It's
Even if
never
you
a
only write half a
failure.
book, you still wrote half a book and you
Yeah.
still learned something from it. And you might
Yeah.
come back to it later and finish it or rewrite it, or you might take, like a couple little pieces out of it and be inspired, for your next thing by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just never know.
Yeah. Creativity isn't something you can fail. So I just
Mhm.
feel like, it's and you might become more skillful in certain things,
Mhm.
but it is worthwhile to fail and fail and have fun messing
Mhm.
up
Have
and
fun
trying
messing
new
up
things.
and
Yeah.
learning from it, and like everything in our modern Western society has become a commodity, and so has art. And a lot of us, we're just very used to that instant gratification. So we have to remind ourselves that writing a book is not that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And but it's also worthwhile. I think some of the hardest
Mm-hmm.
things are the most worthwhile things.
Definitely, definitely, and that satisfaction of getting to the end, getting to write the end, you're like, wow, I did this. Or when you've been struggling with a scene, and then all of a sudden, like you get that brainstorm, and it all comes together. You're like, wow, I know how to fix this problem. Like there is
Yeah.
nothing like that dopamine rush
Yeah.
of,
Agreed.
yeah, like writing a really amazing section of dialogue, or yeah, like fixing a plot hole and being like, oh, of course, it was so obvious. The answer was there the whole time. Maybe I just
Yeah.
needed to take a break and then
Yeah.
come back to it.
Yeah. It always makes me feel like a I'm laughing because it's so stupid, but it makes me feel like a genius in the moment, like I fixed the plot hole.
I know. Like, I'm so smart. I am Nancy Drew.
Exactly.
I'm Nancy
Exactly.
Drew. I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, where can people buy your book
Yeah, so
or your books?
yeah. Um you can always buy direct, but I love to pitch my bookstore friends because
Mm-hmm.
they're doing
Yeah.
incredible things with these bookstores. And it's not just like they're selling books, they're like creating communities and doing really
Yeah.
cool events, and like sometimes they're like the only bookstore in the community and they're creating this wonderful space for people to be together. Oh, hi Kitty.
Oh, this is Angus. I'm making him come sit with me because he's starting to mess with other things in the room.
Yeah, I get that. Yep. Hi. But but yeah, so the Crafty Bookstore, Amethyst and Ink Books, the Cozy Book Nook, and the Bookworm. So yeah, they're all in different places, but different states. But
But that's great.
yeah,
I need to get on that. I've just done ones that are, close by where I am right now, but I
yeah,
need
but
to,
those are worthwhile. I mean, like,
right?
because they're local and you're local, and so you have that
Mm-hmm.
connection and you can support each other,
Right?
and that's great. So,
Yeah.
for me, sometimes it was just like, oh, I saw the opportunity and I
Mm-hmm.
tried it
Saw the
out, and
opportunity and you took it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I'm so grateful for the people that decided to stock me, and stock my books, and I mean. Even the bookworm, I mean, the bookworm's been around for almost 40 years, and
Wow.
yeah, and they're pretty selective about what they take. So it just felt like such a
That's an honor.
kind. Well, it
Yeah.
was such a kind gesture,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that they believed in my first book, that they took that one, and then
Mm-hmm.
they were willing to stop my second book, and so it meant a lot to me, as someone who's really just struggling to do this on their own.
Yeah.
And
Just
yeah,
giving you that chance.
exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Willing to
Um,
take a little bit of a risk on you when they didn't
right.
have to.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
really,
that says a lot.
really all the bookstores are, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to see if this works between us,
Right?
and I'm so grateful because, they're working hard to sell books, and I'm working hard to promote their business, and
Mm-hmm.
my work as well, and it's such a nice, it's so different than, like, for example, I went into Books a Million.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I talked to one of the managers in there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay. So here's how we do this normally." And I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, "You don't want me in here."
Yeah.
And
You're
so,
like,
like,
fine, I got the hint, I'll just leave.
yeah, I was like, "Well, it's
Uh,
worthwhile to ask,
yeah,
but
shoot your
um,
shot.
yeah,
Worst
but
they can say is no.
yeah." And they did,
Yeah,
straight up.
yeah. Sometimes they do.
Yeah, because they don't really. I guess they don't really take print on demand books, which eliminates immediately all indie authors, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
So there you go. And you have to be through a certain distributor, which isn't even the distributor you think it is. Then now automatically, if you're not with that distributor, then you're out. So
yeah,
there's hurdles to getting into
yeah,
bookstores.
yeah.
So
Certain bookstores, probably. Yeah, some of the more exclusive ones, I guess. But yeah, shoot your shot.
yeah. So I'm just thankful to the indie bookstores who
Mm-hmm.
who definitely would say yes, like come and bring your book and we'll try and sell it. So thank you to all four of those, and then yeah, I sell direct, and I do sell through the retailers, but I make the most sales through the bookstores, the indie bookstores.
This is
They
true.
they
So
go
yeah,
hard.
shop indie. Um, Sometimes they're willing to ship. I don't know if these ones are.
Yeah, some of them actually, the crafty bookstore, that's all they do. They ship books.
Perfect.
So because they're
That's
working,
perfect. Yeah. So
yeah, they're
you can order from the Crafty Bookstore, the Floating Castle, and not give Jeffy B all your dollars.
and get a better quality book. I'm
Yes,
just
get a better
saying.
quality book.
Yeah. So, um, but yeah, and then yeah, all of them have worked to kind of create like online sales as well. So you can really get them. I mean, I know the crafty bookstore is only in the U.S., and a lot of it's just like tariffs and stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if you buy direct, I can do UK. And then I have to go through retailers like for Australia or
What about Canada?
Canada. Yeah, I have to go through retailers for Well, I mean, technically Ingram prints in the US and ships to Canada. So I'm not totally sure like if I came in from the Canadian side,
Yeah.
what it would be like as far as like an actual transaction. But
Yeah.
because I
That's
imagine the
fair.
shipping would be kind of wild, but
Yeah, and then yeah, any tariffs.
mm, yeah, but Indigo chapters, right? I can do ebooks through them,
Okay.
and so they're
Yeah.
a big Canadian
Cool. So
Chinese.
yeah, if you're in Canada, just get an ebook.
Yeah, I mean that's my suggestion. Honestly, I feel like it would be a lot more cost effective. And
Yeah.
I'm in some libraries now.
And that's really
So
exciting.
yeah, so I mean, if you can request my book because it has an ISBN number, it has an
Yes, so if it's not in
LLC.
your local library, you can request that they buy it. Most libraries do ebooks now too, so it's a lot easier for them to have, um, you know, more obscure titles. I was
Yeah,
able to get my books into a couple of libraries in the
nice.
ebook
Yeah.
format only. But I get
Mhm.
it because yeah, they have limited shelf space. They need to reserve that space for the things that are in high demand.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
and
nice to be able to make it accessible for people that are on a budget or don't have an extra $5 to buy my book. I'm like, that's fair. Like,
yeah.
that's what
I
the library's for. That's what I want my tax dollars to go towards, the
e-
library.
exactly. Like I never want people to not be able to read my books, right? And
Because they
so
can't afford them.
exactly. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want that barrier to be there. And
Yeah.
the libraries are a good solution to that because
Hmm.
everybody wins. Every single person
Everybody
wins
wins. Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
situation. Pirating, no one wins.
Yes, pirating, do not support that. If
Yeah.
you are poor and want to pirate, no, sorry, we're not friends. We like pirates in books, not pirates who pirate our books.
Yes. Yeah.
Just go to
Because
the library and ask for it.
yeah, because I'm a real human being with real bills, and
Hmm.
I have put years and years and years of hard
Yes.
work into this.
Yes.
And when you steal my stuff, it hurts me.
Yeah.
So
Stealing is not cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's not nice.
but that's why I wanted to put, the go through these particular distributors because they do
Hmm.
go through libraries, and that
Yeah.
is a free option, and
Yeah.
it's good for everybody because if you get a library card, and sometimes there's the argument, well, I can't do a library card because of this, but there's certain programs usually for that,
Hmm.
so don't give up.
There's options. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
options.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's where you can find my books. You can find me online. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, which I guess is X now. Blue Sky. I don't know. Twitter is just weird.
It's still Twitter. I think it
Yeah,
for all of us.
yeah, for sure. I'm on Blue Sky, but like most of that's mostly updates because Blue Sky is kind of confusing to me, honestly.
I do not understand it. I'm not on it. I can't figure out what it is. I'm like, I guess that's my age catching up with me.
That's how I feel too. Yeah. So, but I do run, I have my own like WordPress website where I post all my updates. SSBA stuff is on a page there. And so you can find out everything just from going to my website. So, and
Perfect.
it's much more organized than social media. You can find
Yeah.
everything quite easily.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good job.
Thanks, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. My website is